Look at what they have done to us. Look at how they have harmed us. The sickness, the death, the inability to attend funerals, suffering in silence, battered women, abused children, the resurgence of alcoholism and drug abuse, the permanent damage to our economy, depression and devastation coming out of this. The Chinese Communist government brought us to our knees with this virus allegedly let out of their lab, let out of China. They knew full well the danger. They analyzed it, they understood it, and they moved on it, which is why no flights were allowed out of Wuhan into Beijing or any part of China, but freely allowed flights to go to Europe and throughout the world. Congress's approval rating was just 20% when this shutdown started, proving not only how little Americans think of their elected representatives in Washington, but how broken this system really is. Now, at a time when we need them most, they're not working, but they're getting their paycheck. Using any reason to not work is really nothing new for them, which I suspect is one of the reasons Congress's approval rating hasn't gone above 30% in over a decade. Sure, they talk a big game, yet they rarely deliver on their promises. Their ultimate goal is to be part of the powerful winning team. And folks, that ain't us. They fight to win at all costs, but ultimately it makes little difference in our lives. While most Americans were told to shelter in place, essential workers were out working. Doctors, nurses, healthcare professionals, police, firefighters, first responders, truckers, delivery workers, postal workers, fast food workers, public works workers, journalists, radio, television. But Congress? Oh, no. Sheltered in place like the prima donnas they are and getting paid. Truth be told, the so-called non-essential workers would prefer to be working. The Americans want to work to take care of their families, to have some control over what the future might hold for them, to eliminate the financial and emotional toll of being without a paycheck. So what does Congress do? They pass one funding bill after another, which is good, including yesterday's fourth $484 billion stimulus bill, which wouldn't be so terrible if it went to Americans who cannot work. But no, they have to play their games. Take, for example, the April 7th $2.2 trillion CARES Act, which included the Payroll Protection Plan, held up by Nancy Pelosi for an additional 7 days after there was already agreement. She wanted money added beyond payroll protection for Planned Parenthood, the Green New Deal, and election law changes. She actually got $35 million to the Kennedy Center, where she is a board member, and $150 million to the National Endowments for the Arts and Humanities, none of which had anything to do with Americans out of work and not getting a paycheck. During her delaying tactics, 1.6 million businesses got money to save 30 million jobs. But Republicans knew they would need to replenish the money and wanted to do so by consent. Queen Nancy would have none of it. So that week, another 4.4 million Americans filed for unemployment because of the delay. So why? House Majority Whip James Clyburn said it all in a phone call with his Democrat colleagues. Quote, "This is a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision." That was a reported quote. So you see, COVID is being used as a cover to fund liberal progressive programs. Yet Nancy has time to show her freezer ice cream and the concomitant tone-deaf brain freeze as she goes from the Late Late Show with James Corden to the Late Show with Stephen Colbert to Bill Maher, who puts the ultimate question to her last night.
I know we can bail out certain sectors, as we have done in the past. I don't know how you can just keep indefinitely writing checks We were 20 trillion in the hole to begin with. How can the whole world be writing this funny money?
Well, because it's a matter of life and death.
Really? Funding the Kennedy Center is a matter of life and death for you, Nancy? The left is just not in tune with America. Last year, during the partial shutdown, when 800,000 Americans were not receiving pay, Pelosi, Schiff, and her chosen vacation junket travelers being paid, of course, were off to Afghanistan and Brussels after Nancy prevented the president from delivering a State of the Union, suggesting he send it in writing. And after this year's State of the Union, we know what she does with those State of the Union speeches. Congress goes from one thing to another, each side high-fiving each other after they think they've scored. Impeachment, 3 long years with proof of Russia collusion. The Ukraine. How about destroying Supreme Court Justice nominee with rules that wouldn't get past a 5th grade government class? And now, as we see light at the end of the COVID tunnel, the issue will turn to China. Look at what they have done to us. Look at how they have harmed us. The sickness, the death, the inability to attend funerals, suffering in silence, battered women, abused children, the resurgence of alcoholism and drug abuse, the permanent damage to our economy, depression, and devastation coming out of this. The Chinese Communist government brought us to our knees with this virus allegedly let out of their lab, let out of China. They knew full well the danger. They analyzed it, they understood it, and they moved on it, which is why no flights were allowed out of Wuhan into Beijing or any part of China, but freely allowed flights to go to Europe and throughout the world. So will Congress do more than pay lip service on behalf of all of us so damaged by these bad actors? Or will Congress just keep working for themselves, forgetting who they're answerable to, and prove my very point, which is the system is broken?